The title is Passover, Easter, Lent. Today, looking at Acts 12, 1 to 5, we will briefly examine Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Easter, and Lent. Acts 12, 1 to 5. 1. Verse 1. Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church. 2. And he killed James the brother of John with a sword. 3. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. 4. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. 5. Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him. Verse 1. King Herod is Herod Agrippa 1. He was the grandson of the Herod the Great and the tetrarch of Galilee. He killed James, the brother of John. He arrested Peter. References: Herod the Great, construction of the Jerusalem temple, killing of the infants in Bethlehem at the time of Jesus' birth. Herod Antipas, tetrarch of Galilee and Perea, killed John the Baptist, king at the time of Jesus, whom Jesus called a fox. Herod Agrippa II, king of the eastern region of Galilee. The apostle Paul met him. Verse 3. Peter was arrested during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, one day between the 15th and 21st of the first month of the Jewish calendar. Passover is the 14th of the first month, and the Feast of Unleavened Bread lasts for 7 days from the 15th to the 21st of the first month. Verse 4. King Herod wanted to bring Peter out before the people after the Passover. Here the Passover is not the Passover of the 14th day of the first month of the following year, which is about a year later. Based on the context, after the Passover is thought to be after the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that is, after the 22nd day of the first month of the same year. The original Greek word of Passover in verse 4 is Pascha, which literally translates to Passover. Therefore, it is generally translated as Passover in the Bible. The King James Bible and English Bible translated Pascha as Easter, but here Easter is not written to mean the day Jesus resurrected, but is a word related to Joster, the German goddess of spring. The French and Italian Bibles translated Pascha as Passover. In English usage, Pascha has two meanings, Passover and Easter. Refer to YouTube. According to German legend, the goddess of spring used to transform a dying bird into a rabbit, and this rabbit laid eggs as a token of gratitude. At that time, ancient people held festivals honoring the goddess Yoster to celebrate the spring when new life blossoms during the vernal equinox. Rabbits and eggs symbolize fertility and new life, spring. Ancient people had a custom of offering painted eggs to the goddess Easter and placing them near rabbit holes. There is also a theory that the term Easter originated from Ishtar, the Babylonian goddess of fertility. Therefore, the King James Bible translates that they tried to drag Peter out as soon as the service for the goddess Easter, whom the Roman pagans worshipped during the time of King Herod, was over. For reference, it is said that the worship of the goddess Easter took place around the vernal equinox. equinox. Meanwhile, the day of Jesus' resurrection was set as the first Sunday after the full moon following the vernal equinox. It seems that two different translations occurred because the two times are similar in timing. In Easter in the King James Bible, in verse 4 is not the day of Jesus' resurrection, but rather the translation of the day of the event to worship the goddess Easter as Easter. To express forcefully accurately, it would be when the Feast of Unleavened Bread ends, Peter is dragged out. Given that there are instances where Passover is also called the Feast of Unleavened Bread, it can be understood that when the Feast of Unleavened Bread ends was written as when Passover ends. In other words, the following is the Bible verse that says the Feast of Unleavened Bread called Passover. Luke 22, 1 to 2. Now the Feast of Unleavened Bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. And the chief priests and scribes sought how they might kill him, for they feared the people. Following the scripture above, there is a command from Jesus to prepare for the Passover. Luke 20-13. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. During Lent, for 40 days, before Easter, both Catholics and Protestants traditionally suppress physical desires and participate in suffering. It is a period of avoiding media and entertainment, movies, plays, etc., and refraining from wearing fleshly clothes or living a luxurious lifestyle. However, it is unlikely that one will be free to live that way once Lent ends. In fact, for those who truly serve Jesus, Lent is the entire year, and Easter is not just one day of the year, but every Sunday is the day to commemorate the resurrection. There is, there is an important point in going beyond form, procedure, and seasons. Finally, Luke 21 1, 22 to 22 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. In Japanese, in Chinese. Thank you. Note: reference materials were obtained from Google search and the dictionary. Thank you.